Hello there. What's going on, everybody? Today, we're going to be doing a community chat, a little roundtable discussion, talking about the FAQ for Star Wars Armada, as well as probably a few other things, depending on wherever the conversation takes us. And joining me today are two community members, which you may be familiar with, and if not, well, they're going to tell you a little bit about themselves. We've got Biggs, and we've also got Karneck, aka Derek. Probably know him better as Karneck. And starting with you, Derek, why don't you tell us a little bit about Star Wars Armada Explained, the channel you run, as well as some of the initiatives that you're working on right now.
Sure. So yeah, I'm Derek. You can call me Derek or Karneck. I run Star Wars Armada Explained. Crabbok hosted me almost a year ago to help kind of get my channel kickstarted, and I very much am appreciative of that. What my channel is about is basically explaining cards and rules and rule interactions. And due to this, I actually am now a contracted judge for FFG. I judged the U.S. Continentals this past year at Gen Con. I'm going to be judging Worlds this year. So I do have a little bit of experience in these matters. And Crabbok, he asked me the other day, he's like, hey, I need a little help understanding the FAQ. I'm like, I'm on it, man. I'm here for you, buddy.
Absolutely.
So otherwise, I also have a reference manual that I'm going to be posting in Crabbok's link here. So I've been working on for the past year, writing down every single rules interaction you could possibly come across in Armada. And this is by and large a reference for people, if they're coming to Worlds, they'll get an idea about how I would make rulings at Worlds and not get caught flat-footed potentially by something.
No, I think that's
myself.
That's really helpful too. And having done some judging, usually for Legion or whatever, I find that it's a very stressful thing. So being able to explain to somebody something rather than just saying I am the law, it lends itself to be a better experience for everybody, because like maybe they know why and they're not angry, and maybe they learn something, and also in case it helps keep you in check too, in case you make a mistake. You're like, when you're talking it out by the numbers, it's just like 1, then 2, then 5. I mean 1, then 2, then 3. Oh, you actually, correction, it goes this way.
Yes, it's not just me writing this all out. This is many, many long hours of rules debates with Ian Cross, the previous World's Judge of 3 years, with other respected community members that are also knowledgeable and interact with the rules community. Like, there was a lot of hours-long debates over how things work, and this is all, it's not just, I mean, I'm the guy who wrote it all out, but it was a community effort.
Big shout out to Ian Cross too, by the way. You're the man.
Yeah,
bro.
Absolutely. He is an awesome person.
Yes, he is. And so Biggs, why don't you if you wouldn't mind, in case people didn't know, I noticed one thing, and one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, because I don't think we had actually really been able to talk before, but you're part of this unnamed podcast. We don't have a name for the podcast yet, do we?
No. Well, I think the name is going to wind up being the Steel Strategies Unnamed Armada Podcast, because honestly, it's kind of a cool gimmick just to be continually unnamed and not have anything too special about it. That the podcast kind of sprung up over the blog that we had. Me and Schmitty and Truthiness had started a blog back right around when Armada first got started. That was originally Steel Squadron, and then morphed into steelstrategy.com.
Right.
And now we've got steelstrategy.podbean.com for all your podcast needs. We're I think by the time this goes up, we should either have just released or be in the process of releasing episode 11. So that should be a lot of fun there. And honestly, you probably should have had Schmitty on instead of me. I know you tried to get him.
Yeah, well, not everything works out the way I wanted to have. Hey, the more the merrier, and maybe the next time, and this goes to, if you're an Armada content creator and you are looking to do like a community chat or whatever, definitely reach out, because I enjoy bringing people together and talking Armada, because it's awesome, and it gives me an opportunity to give some people a hard time, because like on your podcast, you guys ranked Tag pretty low, and
as well he should be. The trash bag that he is.
He gives the Empire something that they absolutely don't have, and that's the ability to get those tokens back. The Rebels have Walix Blissix, who's like going to see a lot of use now, I think. But yeah, no, I really enjoy Tag, especially with TRC.
And he doesn't take up your commander slot.
That's true. No. So no. My list that I love with tag, and it's maybe we were talking about maybe having going on the podcast, but basically at some point maybe you've used it, maybe you haven't. Is like an Architons list that has a couple of TRC Architons, maybe a Nita Simoon, with Nita and TRC, and a Jerk Gazanti with Tua and ECM. You're going to have a lot of opportunities to exhaust stuff and get stuff back, especially with TRC, since you can control it a little bit more. I think that's the way to make tag really, really be dangerous. And, I still don't say, I'm not saying he's like number one or even A tier, but he's at least like C plus. I don't know. At least I don't know. That's my take. And I'm not as competitive as you guys are.
We've got to have you on for Jank, man. We've got to have you on for Jank.
Yes, you should have him on for Jank Talk.
Yeah.
You would love Jank Talk.
Oh, that is great.
That might be something that has to happen at some point. Maybe we should make that happen.
Well, I've got to say, because I got to establish my bona fides here. I do TO the largest and most prestigious Armada Vassal tournament every year, which is the 5th annual Vassal World Cup is currently ongoing, and we're down to the final four. The final four, 2 of the 6 games have been played out, and everyone's like 7, 6, 5, and 4 tournament points in that last little pod.
Oh wow!
So it's getting down to the wire, and it's real interesting. We've got one Agate Starhawk in there, really? And then a bunch of there's an Onager Quasar, an Onager ISD, and an ISD Quasar.
Wow. Yeah, I predict that the Starhawk list will come in last place because that's my least favorite ship right now. But
it's currently winning with 7 points.
Then that's proof that Vassal is garbage. No, I'm kidding. I know. You can't really take my opinion that seriously because But all right,
okay.
So we have a couple of interesting things that came out of this FAQ. And so I have it open here right next to me. So I'm gonna if there's no objection, I'm gonna kind of take us right in, and I'm gonna start off with the first errata that was an old one. So I know a lot of people have already talked about this one, and it's the clarification on Radis, and it was originally a forum posting, and they, instead of just everything being in the forum postings, it's become now official in the document. Takeaways from Radis is is he just a complete nerf? Is he still playable? I think some people still like him. I still like him, but what do you guys think?
I think it's a fantastic change, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some people that actually like him more with the change. Like there's a lot of people that are disappointed that you couldn't use him with the Starhawk, because there were a ton of people that are just like, yeah, we're gonna drop 180 points a ship right on top of you.
Yeah, I can see that.
But is the distance 1 to 2 being a small buff to how far away from the flagship he can deploy means that his threat radius from the ship that he does drop is actually much larger than you would think. And he can choose, if you've got the ship coming in, he just chooses which direction he wants to come from and says, well, here I am, probably almost certainly out of the arc that you want me to be in, deal with it.
And there's certain ships that's going to be way more nasty against, like an SSD. It's like, oh, guess what? I'm not in your front arc at all now. And unless you've got JJ, there's not much you can do about that. And even if you do, I might put you in a place that you can't, you don't have the room to maneuver now. Yeah. Have any of you guys tried Radis now with the Profundity title, like moving him to extend that range? It's almost to range 5 now. If you move Radis, it's like you can still do that, and it's a little more fun, right? I've tried it, and I loved it.
So the biggest reason for the change, sorry, Biggs, the biggest reason for the change was that initially Radis was kind of like Batman. You didn't know where he was going to come from. He could be anywhere. He could be nowhere. And it just made deployment really difficult, especially for most newer players. It just wasn't fun to play against, and so from rules wise, it just was not being a very positive experience for a lot of players, which kind of led into this change for people who are not quite in the know of potentially why this change happened.
Sure. No, it makes sense, and I like the idea that he's now going to require a little more thought, a little more predictable, but it wasn't a total nerf. There was a little buff thrown in there, and I think in the future, when something has to get totally nerfed, if they just can increase one avenue of it and maybe give you a side way to use it, I think that's a much more interesting change than just a straight up nerf.
Yeah.
Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about in here is a pretty big nerf to hyperspace migration. And I have to admit that as a person who covers Armada, I have a big failing is that I have not once had the opportunity to actually play hyperspace migration. It was just either never one of the ones that came up or was never chosen. So I don't even understand the significance of this outside of just the fact that you can only score once every other round. But for those, how familiar are you guys with this one? Was it really needed?
I'll let
it was unplayable as first player. If you had 4 ships just dedicated to whale watching, and that's all they did, because of how the card was originally worded, you could, as second player, decide whether you were going to trigger getting tokens on your ships first or removing tokens from your ships first. So you would always say, oh, I'll take the tokens on my ships, and now I'll remove tokens from all the ships that have tokens. And with 4 ships whale watching, you'd end the game with 480 points from tokens.
So it was like Fire Lanes 2.0.
Yeah, Fire Lanes, but worse.
Oh.
And so many points. And oh no, there was no reason. By the time you as first player could get in and disrupt the whale watching, as it were, it's already too late. The game's out of your hands.
So your only hope is to table them and hope for a 6-5 with 0 margin of victory. That's
pretty much it. And that's what made that objective pretty much unpickable, because even if I kill you and I lose nothing, it's only a 6-5 victory for me.
Yeah, and that's rough. That's almost like the jerk move in a tournament if you're playing really competitive. To kind of force that draw, and it's like, haha, I still lost, but it's like when somebody runs from you the whole game and they end in a 6-5 or something like that. Where it's like, yeah. Okay, so that makes.
And just to point out real quick that this ruling, this clarification they have here, was intentionally, from what I've understood, was that's how they wanted it to be worded, but for some reason that just didn't happen. And so that's why we now, I was told that months ago, but it's like, I have no proof. I can't prove that this is the way the developers want it. I can only rule based on what I have on the card in front of me.
That's fair. I know that there have band certain things weren't anticipated, and there's unanticipated interactions based on
surprise attack.
Yeah. and it's amazing when you kind of develop a game kind of in a bubble. All right, here's even if you've got a lot of play testers and a lot of developers working on something, once it gets out to the bigger public, there's going to be janky people that just decide, you know what, I'm going to put Tua with ECM on a Gazanti, and now you can't kill me because I've got tag, and I'm going to get that even if I do it twice. So there's things like that.
Right.
Okay, that's pretty good. So talking about Rebellion in the Rim creatures, we've also got a change to Exogorths, or I don't know if this was a clarification or a change, because I may have played them wrong. Okay. So the change, it looks like you alternate. Second player chooses one Exogorth, attacks, then first player chooses another Exogorth and attacks, and I feel like that's the change, right?
So just to be real quick, and what was happening was that it was the second player would choose an Exogorth and then the first player, and then that was it. You would just make your attack rolls. What was happening is that one player would make all of the attack rolls for that Exogorth. So you would run in situations where, I'm second player. Oh, I'm attacking my second player squadron. It has scatter. Oh no, I choose not to spend my accuracy that I rolled. Oh, I didn't do any damage to that squadron. Oh, it's so sad. And it's just that was obviously not the intent, which is why the new wording now says you still choose which exogorth, but you only roll dice on opponent ships. The opponent rolls dice you don't roll dice on your own ships.
Sure. No, that makes perfect sense. And I think that's probably one of those cases where that was probably the intent all along.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That makes sense.
It was fun because I did get a chance to play this this objective casually with somebody and got to say, roll the dice to see if it hits your Sienna. Are you going to spend that accuracy to block Sienna's scatter?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you don't want to? Okay, you didn't. Cool.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. I definitely understand that, and I think I had probably played the Exogorth wrong one time because I think we had the second player make both Exogorth attacks, or maybe I'm remembering. It might have been that the first player had, or the one player had no squadrons, so there was really nothing to to roll on the other side. Now, it looks like there's also a change to the setup area where, it's on the same page as the Exogorths, but it's saying during setup, obstacles must be placed within the setup area beyond distance 3 of player edges and beyond distance 1 of the non-player edges of the setup area. So is that basically normally the setup area is distance 5, right? Like, was that a change that I'm?
This is on a 3x3.
This is for Rebellion in the Rim only.
Oh, only for 3x3 only. That's okay.
So they added this paragraph because this paragraph is in the Learn to Play booklet, but nowhere else. And they're like, oh crap, they don't know how to set up obstacles because we didn't include that in Rebellion in the Rim, and no one's going to go look at Learn to Play on how to remember how to do that. So that's why they added
and that makes it sense. So a lot of the stuff in the Rebellion in the Rim is focusing on just those things that are in Rebellion in the Rim. You don't need to look at, oh wait, what does Conquest do for the regular game, and maybe you don't really need to worry about that as much. Okay, so that much is helpful. I think some of these other things are a little bit more standard, like the SSD, clarification, like it has to touch the back edge. Like I thought they had said that already, but maybe it just wasn't. It wasn't in the RRG. It was only in the ship's rulebook.
Correct. Right? It's in the SSD booklet, but it's not listed anywhere else. So now it's in the FAQ to be like, it should be saying this everywhere, but it's just in the booklet, which a lot of people still don't have access to, or they can't find that material online.
Or sometimes you lose your book. Like I think I know where mine is, but if I had to pull it out like in the middle of a tournament, I'm like, I think it's back home with my other rule books, and how much paperwork should you really have to bring to a tournament when you should hopefully just have the FAQ bookmarked or something like that.
I bring all of it.
Well, I know you probably do. Yeah. All right. So I did like the clarification about the concentrate fire dial and token having to be like, you got to say what you're going to do beforehand, because I used to not do that. And somebody, I think it was like somebody at Gen Con was like, no, you got to say, if you're going to do a reroll with the token, at the same time that you say whether or not you're going to add a die with concentrate fire dial. And I was like, I used to look at the dice first and then decide. I'm like, no, you can't, because then that would be two different commands. And
that's right.
And it's a good clarification because I've been playing since launch, and so if I'm doing it wrong, my guess is that there's probably some other people doing it wrong too.
It's the most thing I correct people on.
Yeah, it's
to be fair to all of this, you can still choose to spend the dial and the token, use the dial to add a die, and then after you see the die that you add, decide whether or not you want to reroll, including re-rolling that die that you add. So there's an order to the operation here.
And you could choose to re-roll 0 dice if, like you said, you were going to spend the token.
That's correct.
Correct.
But the token's going away.
The token goes away anyway, but you have to spend the token to have the opportunity to reroll, but you don't actually have to reroll.
And it's that's a good distinction to make, and I feel like that precedent is probably also there for anything else. Like if there become options like where like, you know what, I want to do a squadron command, but then I want to save my squadron token so this way after I move, because I've got the fleet officer. It's like it's the same. That being there covers any kind of. It's good future proofing, I think.
And just so you know, that blue text that was there before they added about a paragraph more to that example.
Sure,
it did say before you had to spend essentially the dial and token together, but they didn't give the example that they have in there now, which further clarifies it.
And I think that was I'd go out on a limb and say that specific, like you said, is probably the one instance of that with which it gets most taken incorrectly. And I probably am somewhat guilty for that because I know I've taught people how to play and I've probably given them the wrong example. So this is me kind of like taking some responsibility. I was wrong, and here's the proof. So, all right.
You're not the only one.
I think the only other time where you'd really see that happen is deciding how many squadrons you're going to activate with a ship if you've got a dial and token.
True.
And if you've got a quasar with 4 squadrons naturally and then a token for a 5th, and you activate the first 4 and you're like, okay, I'm done now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you didn't say, well, you got to say if you're going to use the token or not.
Yeah.
And the gray area is going to be when somebody doesn't specify, right? Like I think the rules would be if you didn't say you were using the token, you're not. And
that's
so you
correct.
can't. Yeah. But you should still. I think it's probably in good gameplay experience. It's probably just a good thing to do to say whether or not, regardless of what you're going to do, you should be saying I'm not using the token.
Absolutely, especially
not
at high level
your
tournaments.
Opponent knows what you're going to do.
Yeah. And I think the golden rule is here, like, make your intentions known. And so this way, if there's some mechanic that's going to stop that or whatever, it's like it's good sportsmanship to always talk about what your intentions are. And if you're playing me, I actually like it if you would give me your intentions a couple turns in advance. But,
okay, Thrawn.
Yeah, I'm that's like a dad joke. I'm like, what are you planning on doing next turn? Yes. Okay, so just running through a couple of things here. I have some notes because I think a lot of the stuff was just clarification and not a whole lot. Speaking of Thrawn, actually, fantastic segue here. There were a lot of Thrawn-based changes, and I know I was familiar with some of these beforehand from the Armada Discord and talking to you guys. Let's use it. I think
just to be upfront, these are not new things. We've known about these things for over a year, but they just now finally put it in the FAQ.
Right. And that is a good distinction because when I say change, I just mean blue text.
Yes.
These are, in this case, I think for Thrawn, it's a clarification. The big example is that it's not a revealed dial, it's a gained dial. And that has, I think the biggest impact is to an SSD or a huge ship. So future proofing here for if we ever do see more huge ships, if we get mega made in the game, then, or for me, I think I'm going out, I'm deviating from the subject matter of this particular video, but I'm thinking towards Clone Wars. I would expect the Malevolence to be a huge ship. So it just makes sense that they want a future proof right now. Yeah, if you get a Thrawn dial, that is not a revealed dial, so you do not get the token. That sound about right?
No, you're absolutely correct. There's another thing where people have also been doing this. Is the second big thing with Thrawn. People have been discarding Thrawn's dial to clear raid, and you can't do that. You can only, because again, Thrawn's dial is gained, not revealed, and you can only clear raid with a revealed command dial.
Or a token that matches it.
Or a single token that matches a raid token, yes.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. So here's an interaction. Let's say I've got a revealed engineering or something like that, but I've also got a Thrawn dial. Let's say I have an engineering raid token. I know it says you can cash in the Thrawn dial for a token.
Mm-hmm.
Can I cash in a Thrawn dial for a token, then immediately spend that token to clear my engineering raid, and then get a free token for the revealed engineering dial for the ship? Is that a little bit too? Have I just set your brain on fire?
So all of these things happen at the same time in the reveal command dial step. The only thing is that when you are revealing your command dial with the SSD specifically, that token gain is automatic. It's the first thing that happens. So if you already have an engineering token, you don't get another one.
So I won't be able to unless I'm an executor.
Right.
Okay.
So what you can do, as you mentioned, is yes, you could tokenize Thrawn's dial to a token, clear raid with that, and then you can still use your reveal dial, or if you want to tokenize that dial, you can. But for SSD specifically, when you reveal the dial, the token gain is the first thing that happens. You don't get a choice about when you get that token gain.
Well, that's
a much better way of doing that would be reveal the SSD dial, gain that token, spend that token to clear the raid, reveal the Thrawn, or gain the Thrawn dial,
Mm.
and then turn that dial into a token. So
That's-
then you have dial plus token.
This is why I bring in the big guns. You guys are true masters of your craft here. We've got the expert explanation, and then we've got the expert tech trying to game the system to his advantage. And now I'm learning all these new tricks, and I'm sharing them with you guys.
He's not qualified for shields yet. He's just an expert tech.
Oh, well, that was a really good. Thank you guys. That's awesome. So news to a lot of people. This is like maybe one of the most damning changes of the FAQ. Can a ship have more than one title upgrade card? And it's a no.
I am shocked.
I'm shocked when I read that.
No, seriously though. Like, joke. We got to joke first because
Jokes
like,
aside,
who was
right.
the person that that did this? My guess is that maybe it was based on some of the generic titles we've seen, like the Seventh Fleet. Maybe somebody wanted to take. Isn't the Chimera in the Seventh Fleet? So shouldn't I be able to take them both? I'm guessing somebody asked that, and they're just like, I can't believe. I could just imagine like somebody having to write this, and like, I can't believe I have to put this in here.
That's why the answer is a single word.
It's almost like a no with two middle fingers that are invisible on the sides of it. It's like no. I bet you there's some invisible font. Like if you were to like copy it, and like why, if you were to like copy and paste, like it probably goes no beyond the no, and there's a whole bunch of extra spaces that were like a different font for. Why the hell are you asking?
Pens.
Mm-hmm. No, I really like that one. Some Corellian conflicts stuff, and I'm not going to get too far into that. I think most of that is well, I'll ask you guys because I don't really do a whole lot of campaigns. I usually don't have the time to sit down and commit to like a weekly or monthly kind of thing. But was there any like big changes in here, or was this all just clarification for the that you guys saw?
Largely just clarification about how stuff works, because Revealing the Rim did have a lot of cases where like it would contradict itself, or it would say something and then not finish saying what it was telling you. And by and large, in those kinds of campaigns, it's between friends. Make up a rule, do whatever feels good for your group.
Sure.
The two big things is largely just, this is another one of those questions about the ship title thing. It's about people who were getting multiple copies of Dustfield, and they were taking out one copy of the Dustfield to bring in the one that matches the other one, and then taking that. And that's just another one that's just like, come on, guys.
Really, like that's somebody who's
This
really
is an
trying to
X-wing,
min-max.
people.
Yeah, no, that's and the thing is, they're so similar anyway, right? Like they're both like kind of crescent shaped, and they're both approximately the same dimensions, but.
Right.
Like if you're trying to min max, and you're like, I need to get that extra 2 millimeters. Oh man, you're taking this game way too serious. You're supposed to be having fun.
The question
it's a
is,
gorgeous game. You're supposed to be having fun with it, not
The question is, who narked his friend out to FFG? What jerk's like, man, Jimmy keeps using the same exact dust fields, and there's like millimeter differences, man, millimeters. I'm going to tell FFG on him. Corporate overlords, please save me.
I could imagine that happening at Worlds or something like that. And like imagine being the person on stream or that like they see like the judge walk over and be like what is he saying now?
I mean it does apply to any time that you use the dust fields, including. So yeah, it probably was at like an actual honest to goodness for serious tournament, but
it might have been an accidental thing that happened like the first time I could see, but yeah, I don't know. That's a weird. Like I throw all of my obstacles in like in a tray, and the only thing I have duplicates of is the station in case we get like that double station thing. But for most people, there's no reason to have 4 dust fields because I don't think is there any case that you're going to use more than 2? As of right now,
I've been bringing all the extra obstacles because when you do get into those new objectives where you are moving like tons of obstacles, it's just so handy just to pop out a second one to range from. So that way you're not accidentally nudging the original positioning around. That's why I carry extra.
It's just space turbulence, you nudge stuff all the time. Especially, is that a little bit closer to my ship now? Oops. Yeah. No, I used to play against somebody who would deliberately like have like shaky hands when he's measuring range and like knock your stuff out of long range. I'm like, oh, I guess you can't attack me now. I'm like, dude. So I got into this habit of measuring things early and like, you see this is long range, right? So if I like turn around to answer a question and come back, it's not anymore. I'm still shooting you. Yeah.
Otherwise, for the rest of the Rebellion, the room stuff, it's not anything super crazy that we need to dive into.
All right. I had some questions in the Discord yesterday, and you guys actually answered this, but I'm still bringing it up. Is that it like the advanced gunnery? There was a clarification that totally got me in a brain fart moment, and it was talking about impetuous and ordnance pods, how you can't attack a target you've already attacked.
First player only.
Right.
First player only.
And that was my confusion. I initially read that as, wait, second player can't? Oh my, I was thinking first player was second player or something like that. And I was just like, wait, so these upgrades, am I going to be penalized now? But it's not anything new. It's just a clarification of the way the rule always worked. Yeah.
And for people at home, what the rule is in advanced gunnery is if you are the first player's objective ship and you shoot something, it specifically says you can only attack that or target that target once per round. So if you've shot that whole zone or squadron once already, you can no longer attack it, period, end of story, which was a lot of people forget that. And then we were still using things like ordnance pods and other attacks and things of that nature. And this definitely comes into effect now that salvo's in the game. If you accidentally salvo and you shoot that target, guess what? You can't shoot that whole zone or attack that target again for the rest of that round.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. Because I used to get around advanced gunnery as first player if I had a shot to multiple arcs. Like if somebody was trying to double arc me, because it says you can't attack the same squadron or hull zone. But if I can see your front and your side, I can still double shoot you from the same arc.
You can still do that.
Yeah. But for squadrons, and that I think was the bigger thing here, because people would try to attack us.
So just as a caveat, it's you can't attack the same hull zone during your activation. So salvo attacks will still work with advanced gunnery. As first player
activation.
That's what it says in the FAQ here.
I'm going to zoom in.
First player's objective ship may perform each of its attacks from the same hull zone. It cannot target the same hull zone or squadron more than once each round of that hull zone. That's FAQ, but that's not what the special rule says in advanced gunnery.
Wow, we've got. Oh, all right.
Yeah, it does say round on the card, and it says activation.
Oh, we need
that.
We need an FAQ 2.0. We need an FAQ to the FAQ.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Just so you guys know that part where it says once during that ship's activation, that's them just going, oops, it should have said round, not activation. That's not overriding the objective card. I think
Karneck is trying to give the middle finger to FFG, saying they don't know what
Karneck, I hope you can edit your email.
So no, I can't edit that email.
Oh my goodness! All right, so basically the consensus here is if you are a first player and you're an objective ship, you may not want to put the objective ship on somebody with salvo.
Right.
Okay.
Or
unless you have to.
Or
yeah. Wow. Interesting. So that's something to think about. It may give you some more judicious use of salvo, but that's going to be a limiter. Advanced gunnery just got way more interesting. And actually,
you need to put more thought into it.
I think that's actually a good change too, because that was one of those objectives that a lot of times was equally good for both players. And you don't want, as second player, you don't want something that's like, there's so many times I'm like, I'm only going to pick advanced gunnery if I really need it, because there's a chance I'm going to face like an Akbar MC-80 and he's like, oh, I get to double attack with my Akbar MC-80 now? Awesome. Granted, it's still going to be just as good for an Akbar MC-80, but
just if you're first player, if you shoot a hull zone on a ship, you can't attack that hull zone. You can still attack other hull zones you can see, but once you shoot that one, then again you can't shoot that one for the rest of that round.
But with salvo in the game now, you as second player, you're like, oh, you salvoed me. Well, now, or you're more likely to take shots, because there's so many times I've been noticing lately people are afraid to attack and sometimes won't attack you. dude.
Yeah.
I don't want to do too many spoilers, but I've got a tournament report coming up where I'm going to give a little spoiler because some of my patrons have already seen it, but I used salvo to kill an SSD. Killed an SSD with a salvo attack, and it was magnificent. And so, yeah, this salvo's awesome. That's the point. The point is salvo is awesome. Okay.
It is.
Well, we can move on from advanced gunnery here. Let me zoom out a little more. All right. So we were talking about titles. That was funny. There's something in here about irregular squadrons, and I think that was another one that was just really, really weird. And they basically, let me try and find it. I'm skipping some other good stuff.
It's in the Rebellion in the Rim FAQ. It really doesn't. It really doesn't apply to anything tournament wise. It just because the only things that really affect irregular squadrons are Rebellion in the Rim objectives.
Oh,
specifically the green objectives. Okay. So basically, it says you can't cheat an A-wing into an irregular squadron by taking a single A-wing and putting it on a single extender peg. Because the irregular squadrons have to be actual squadrons that are supposed to be irregular squadrons.
That makes a lot of sense. I was curious. The same thing with why was the titles one in here? I was gonna say why would this have ended up in there? And that's actually a fantastic explanation, because I have seen people sometimes try to do hey, I want Luke to look a little bit more different, so I'm gonna run Luke and just a single peg, and I'm I have no problem with that whatsoever. It's just a thematic thing. I've seen people put squadrons, with flotillas. I've seen people set up their flotillas with squadron escorts just for, you want people. Legion is going through this right now. You want at least in that game, you want a hobbyist aspect, and you want people to be able to customize their game, but not jank the system while doing it. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking, is there an example of people trying to customize their game a little bit and janking it? And it's for the squadron objective. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. But that really. So, officially, I think that you're still not allowed to do that for actual official FFG tournament games.
Right.
Unofficially, this bit in the rulebook should only affect Rebellion in the Rim,
right?
Green color, campaign-specific objectives.
So. My suggestion, and let me know if you disagree with this, if you want to run, I'll use the Luke Skywalker example again. If you want to run Luke on a single peg and you're planning on going to a high-level tournament, bring a spare set of pegs and other X-Wings. So if your opponent has no problem with it and a TO has no problem with it, then have a blast. But just have it in your back pocket just in case, because you never know when somebody's just going to be ultra competitive, and not let you run two titles on a ship.
Same thing with third party
accessories,
alt art cards or accessories. Make sure you've got the originals with you in case somebody wants to make a scene.
Yeah, I know that's real good advice, and that's usually what I tell people. Usually somebody will let you borrow stuff too, if that's the case. I know a lot of people bring more than just their play set. Although if you're traveling for a tournament, you probably only bring in a travel kit. But I do know a lot of people that bring their entire collection to tournaments. So there's usually no shortage of being able to borrow stuff. Cool. So great answers. I've got, I have one more really big thing, and I'll open it up to you guys if you guys have anything specific you want to talk about. Because I may have missed some things, but the biggest one. We're going to talk about another one before we get to the biggest one. The biggest one is linked to Laser Towers, but we'll get to that. IG-88B, is he still playable?
No, my pal, my buddy. I was bringing him into all my lists. I'm gonna be real for you guys. I was shaking, upset with why? Yeah, that's definitely.
It makes sense though. It makes sense though. It's exactly how the rules should apply to IG-88B, and we just all assume that he got to shoot everyone because why wouldn't he?
Well, you think about a Death Blossom, right? I've seen The Last Starfighter. There's no way all of those laser bolts just magically absorb into is Biggs the pilot, not Biggs the man. But is Biggs running some kind of electromagnetic X-wing or something. You know?
He's got a switch, okay? He just flips it.
It's the mustache. Yeah.
Yes, exactly that.
Yeah. So I was surprised by this change because I thought I like to look at games and think theme, and thematically he should just shoot in all directions, right? But boy,
he does in The Mandalorian. WTF?
Well, that's IG. That's IG 11. But yes. So I guess the question here is: do you think that what do you think prompted this change? And do you think it maybe there have been a lack of escort? And do you think this is they're wanting to push escort to be more desirable?
No, it was just there's a rule. So escort pretty much has the word cannot. If you're engaged with an escort, you cannot shoot other squadrons. And so originally us TOs, when we got together, it's like, can he or can he not shoot escort? Because we saw this and we're like, we have no idea. It needs to be submitted as a question. We did. In the interim, we were ruling, well, his card effect is a card effect, and the squadron keyword is a written keyword rule in RNG. Based on that precedence, we were saying his card effect overrules the squadron keyword. FFG has pretty much reversed that and says, no, his card effect, we still don't know if the squadron keywords are RNG or card effects. We don't know. I need additional clarification, but pretty much FFG has said, no, he just can't do it. So we don't know if it's specifically his case or if this sets a precedent. We need more information.
That makes sense. Generally, cannots always trump cans, but there have been some exceptions to that, right?
Right. So
in
a cannot, in a cannot versus cannot situation, the card effect will overrule any core rule effect.
Right.
But I think there's only one situation right now where there's a cannot versus cannot and a card versus card effect, but it's pretty clear which one takes precedence.
That's man, you know what? Being a judge, you must have to go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, so
Have
much.
I told you about this manual that I put together?
By the way, we're gonna have a link to that. So if you guys are, that's no. There's a lot of stuff that's just so far beyond. You think, now granted, for people playing casually, they probably don't have to worry about half of these interactions,
No.
But there's going to be people who are like, wait, how does this work? I don't know. Let's go ask somebody. And
Yes.
a lot of, and that's really the beauty of it. So let's. And another thing before we get to LTT, some people have asked me this in some of the comments from my last video, and I think it's worth being talked about because there's a couple of erratas talking about if this card is gone via something like Darth Vader. So we're going to use the example of Darth Vader kills a card. What does he take with it when that card goes away? Because certain effects like Bail Organa, that have a persistent effect that are going to last throughout the whole game, or until their desired time, those are instantly gone. But any upgrade that's granting a slot, you don't lose the slot because if you've already filled it. And so the big difference here is Aspiration versus Chimera as the two titles that were affected differently. I didn't view this as a big thing. The news to me was Aspiration that was a little bit surprising. So
Aspiration was a big surprise for me. I did not see it being ruled that way. I'm not upset about that ruling, but it definitely caught me off guard because that's not how I would have.
Right.
That's why I'm not a developer. That's not how I would have done it.
I think that it's worded that way where Aspiration loses the extra shields because Aspiration also came with the drawback that you couldn't raise your shields in other hull zones until those hull zones that you put shields on were depleted.
That's
so. With that in mind, if Darth Vader dropped Aspiration and you kept the shields, that would be even worse for you, or even worse for you as the player doing Darth Vader, because now
then you could have
he's
above
got
your
bonus
maximum
shields and he can heal up.
Oh,
Oh no!
Oprah Winfrey's throwing out shields to Aspiration, but only Aspiration. That's a really good point, man. That's fantastic. I like
as a caveat side note to that, this also applies to auxiliary shield teams by this precedent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was surprised. And thank you for that, because I was looking for auxiliary shield teams in here and I didn't see it, and I'm like, well, I wonder. And that makes sense. if you're above your maximum, I think the ruling right now, what it's basically saying is if you are above your printed maximum and lose the effect that allows you to sustain that, you at any point you have to then revert. So like future proofing, I would imagine, let's say there's a temporary effect, right? Like a commander's like, you can exhaust this commander, or a fleet command, right? For the rest of this turn, ships can go above their maximum. Well, at the end of that turn, if they're still above their maximum, they should have to drop back down, right? Like, so that card doesn't exist, but I'm like, that should basically, if an effect's temporarily putting you above your maximum, you lose that effect, then you have to revert back to the maximum.
Yeah. I could see some people potentially disagreeing with me on expert shield on auxiliary shield teams. I'm definitely open to those interpretations, and that's something I plan to try to get answered. But based on how I see this card, it's very extremely similar to auxiliary shield teams. I'm going to use that as my precedent as well if you rip that card off too. But I don't see that happening.
Sure. And the other one is Chimera, which it didn't bother me at all because it's the same principle they've gone with other games. If something is granting you something, a slot to use during list building, losing that card doesn't lose you whatever you put in the slot, but it does lose you the card's effect. So Chimera, you're still going to keep your fleet command, but you lose the ability to swap commands, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. All right, so I think that's self-explanatory, but I know some people were asking me about that, so I wanted to talk about it, make sure I didn't get anything wrong, or get you guys' insight on that, which is kind of cool. Chart Officer had a cool errata, too, in that if you land on two things, you can do it for both. I didn't see that coming.
Out of nowhere.
I know, that was really cool. I'm like, that makes Chart Officer a little bit better.
But if you do it, you have to do it for both. That's correct. If you land on a rock and the station, you have to ignore both of them.
Which is generally probably the safer thing to do. Because that rock could be...
Is your opponent Dodonna?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I mean, there could be situations where you'd land on, say, asteroids and want to ignore the asteroids but not the station, or you might want to, where you wouldn't want to ignore asteroids and the station, where I'll take 2 hits on my shields if I can repair a crit in exchange.
Let me ask you this. If you're playing an objective that lets you do something when you overlap an obstacle that happens to have an objective token on there, and you use Chart Officer, do you still get to interact with... And I didn't plan this question in advance. It just jumped up into my head. But you know what I'm asking?
This one's come up before. Yeah.
Okay.
So you still technically overlap that obstacle. The overlap, as a defined game term, is whenever a ship or squadron has ended a movement and is overlapping, that's overlap. The obstacle effect is the follow-on from an overlap.
So you still get to do your objective because you did meet the criteria of overlapping the obstacle.
Yes.
You just don't do anything else. You don't go farther than that.
Correct. So the only objective that this affects, real quick, is navigational territory or whatever it's called, where it says you have to suffer obstacle effects for your opponent to gain tokens. So that's the only thing that I'm aware of. Go, Biggs.
So there's. I should also point out that for the damage card that does additional damage to you when you overlap obstacles, you still overlap the obstacles.
Sure, that makes sense. You're just ignoring the implied effect of what's
that obstacle.
So think of it as a Christmas present. You're just not unwrapping it.
Right.
But mom still saw you messing with the Christmas present, so she thwopped you upside the head. It's like, it's not Christmas yet. Wow, that's really weird analogy. Never mind. The other another change is to like cards like Slicer Tools and Cham Syndulla, that basically when you're setting somebody's dial, and this was something that was asked a lot, you do get to look, which is interesting, and
but not touch.
Unless they let you, unless they want you to. Right. But no, that was a big thing. To know somebody's plan was kind of like one of those unforeseen benefits of Slicer Tools. And and I've seen a lot of people argue, it's like, you don't get to look at it. I'm like, well, then how am I going to know if you set it to what I told you to set it to? Like, well, I'll set it and then show you.
That used to argue that. So that this is finally in the FAQ. This was an email clarification from 3 years ago.
Oh, wow.
It just now made it into the FAQ.
Wow. So remind me to come back, because like at the end of this, I kind of want to talk about like why it's so hard to get FAQs out, and because like I have some of my own theories and stuff, and but I think
I know the reason.
well, I know a lot of it has to do with Lucasfilm, but
Yeah.
so that's just I think a lot of people don't realize that, and they just think FFG's lazy or whatever. Commander Beck got a pretty nice little buff, and that you can.
Oh, I don't want to talk about Beck. I don't want to talk about Beck.
You can let Biggs talk about Beck.
Beck. Oh, Beck. So Beck is like Leia. Beck works with everything. Hooray! Isn't that great, Karneck? Isn't that great? Isn't that what you wanted?
No.
Isn't that what you always wanted?
No.
Beck is amazing. Beck works with Piet. Beck works with dials. Beck works everywhere. It's amazing and great.
Oh my god! I didn't have a problem essentially with that. The clarification actually drastically changes how this card interacts with other potential secondary effects. It's a lot of rule stuff that we don't. I could spend an hour on it, but essentially, it has to do with the term "as if." As if is not a defined game term. We don't know what it means. We initially thought that it meant as if you had spent, but you didn't actually spend, so you don't get these secondary add-on effects. Beck has completely flipped this into saying, oh yeah, you do get these secondary add-on effects. So now to give you an example, because Beck does not have these restrictions that almost every other card in the game has, did you know you could take Beck's token, you can Piet that token into a dial, you can then Beck the same token and dial and token just from Beck alone. That is allowed with that clarification now.
Oh, so you can get rid of the raid token at the same time?
No, you can't use a clear raid.
All right.
No. So to go through her
so
card,
what you just said like overloaded my brain a little bit. There was a lot there.
I'm sure a lot of people. So just to read her card real quick.
Let's rewind.
So this is what Beck does. During your activation, that ship's activation, you may resolve a command as if you had spent a command token. If you do, gain one raid token of the matching type. You may resolve this effect twice per activation. And what the FAQ clarification, where'd it go? I lost it.
I got it. When a ship with this card equipped resolves this effect, it is treated as if it had spent a command token of the chosen type. The ship can also spend a command dial of the chosen type and combine it with this effect.
Okay, so to walk you through why Beck is different from any other upgrade card in the game, it goes back to the during. So every card has a while or before or after in it, and it is a specifically defined term in RNG that says this effect can only happen once, period. End of story. That's why you can't use an upgrade card over and over and over again, like Ordnance Experts on Black Dice. During has no defined term in RNG. So because of this, if you take a Piet or you take Beck, you say, oh, I'm going to resolve this command as a token, but you can Piet that token into a dial. So now you've Pieted that Beck token into a dial.
Right.
It is still the during timing window, which has no definition of being restricted. You could then Beck the same token of the same command and resolve that command as dial and token, but you still only gain one raid.
I was confused because I was thinking of doing it on an SSD, and which
you could,
yeah.
Because what you do is you just chuck away whatever dial you reveal, and then just Beck and Piet whatever you want, and then you can still resolve it as dial and token.
And so she can also work with Thrawn, giving your Thrawn stuff, dial and token options. So.
Yeah. So just so everyone is aware, I have already sent. I was granted a one-time only email to Gerns, who's a developer for Armada. This was at the top of my list of you need to give me more because I don't know what your intent is with this card because it says this, but now you've completely 180'd it to say it can do whatever it wants. And me as a judge, I have no idea how to rule this card now or what precedent it sets. So that is in the email. I don't have an answer yet. It's coming.
Well, so here's the other thing too: is if you do Beck, if you Beck it right away and then try to Piet, the raid token wouldn't it stop you from doing.
You don't gain the raid token until after the command is resolved.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so again,
and you
my
can't
brain is
gain
mush right
two
now.
of the same. You can't gain two of the same type of raid token. So you'd gain one raid token, and then
that's it.
Yeah. So you get two uses of her for a single.
And again, for people watching at home, I explain this to you so you can understand how much anxiety that I'm getting because of this card alone. Don't automatically assume that's what is going to be allowed at Worlds. I will be making an official forum post that's going to go over
Guys,
when I get my
Beck
answer.
is banned from Worlds, by the way. Just so don't even.
If I
even
could
bring
ban
it.
this
Don't bring
card, I would. Oh, I would throw it in the trash. I'm sorry. I hate this card with a passion. I spent, just so everyone at home knows, 2 months in debates over this card, over how it works. So that's why I'm so frustrated with this.
Yeah, I can see that. That's all right. So nobody's going to bring back to Worlds because we don't want Karneck to have a complete meltdown on the floor. But if he does, get your phones out.
I can hide the body.
All right. I think we're about ready to move on to the one thing that got me the most, and that's linked to Turbo Laser Towers.
Yes.
So
the most confusing wording.
Yeah, all right. I'm gonna zoom in on Link Turbo Laser Towers. So normally, I'm gonna give you guys my thing, and I normally had no problem using Link Turbo Laser Towers. Here is an example of how I might have used Link Turbo Laser Towers. Let's say I had it on a Starhawk. I had a red and blue anti-squadron, right? And I'm like, all right, cool. So first attack, I'm gonna do a squadron attack. All right, cool. I'm just gonna use the top portion. I'm gonna do you may re-roll 1 red die in your attack pool. So I'm attacking 5 squadrons with this awesome flak. Hey, I'm getting a re-roll every single time. Cool. All right. Then next attack, I'm gonna attack a ship. I'm gonna do I'm gonna get a reroll on that. Oh, and I got salvo later on. I'm gonna use it for that too. Cool. All right, so I'm only using the top. Now let's say I want to use the second. I'm gonna attack a ship first. All right, boom. I did a ship attack first. I'm gonna do another attack. This one's gonna be flak. For the first guy, I'm gonna add 2 more dice. I'm also gonna reroll a red in that particular attack because maybe one of the dice I added was red, right? Or maybe I added 2 red dice. Then for the rest of that squadron attack, I don't get to add any additional squadrons. So one of the cool things, here's the third interaction, is I'm going to do a double flak. Maybe I've got one X-Wing that I'm double arced on and everything else is in my front arc. So I'm going to go side attack first. That's when I use the bottom portion for I'm going to hit this X-Wing. I'm going to do my normal 2 anti-squadron. I'm going to add 2 to that and re-roll a red. And then that attack is done. I only had 1 guy there anyway, right? That's the dream scenario. Then I'm going to go front arc, and now I'm going to do a full anti-squadron attack because this is a separate attack. I can still attack multiple squadrons, right? But I'm not going to add 2, but I still get the top. This ruling has me questioning all of that because what's unclear to me is here. Just so for you guys, in case somebody's listening to this and not watching the video, the new ruling says the ship with this card equipped can resolve this effect. Now I don't know what this effect means during any of its anti-squadron attacks. That's also really confusing, but can only resolve it during its activation. That's another thing that was like, what are you talking about? I can reroll during a salvo, right? All right. If the ship resolves this effect during an additional attack granted by another effect, such as ordnance pods, it cannot declare additional squadron targets during that attack. That last part kind of sounds normal to me because if maybe I didn't do any squadron attacks and then I ordnance pods, yeah, that would still be the first one during my activation.
That's correct.
But what about all the stuff before that, right? All right, I'm gonna let you guys go because I'm so confused.
I'll take a crack at it. Okay, so this is not an errata. This doesn't change what the card actually says. This is just trying to clarify, and it's not doing a particularly great job of it. But I think we can safely say that this effect it references the while attacking the first squadron during your activation, you may add 2 dice of any color to your attack pool. If you do, you cannot declare additional squadron targets for this attack. So,
okay. So let me ask you something in the middle of that, if I may. I get that. If you're saying if it's not changing anything, but it says while
You
attacking
can
the
always-
first squadron during your activation.
Yes.
But
So-
no, the errata or the blue text says you can do this. Can resolve this effect during any of its anti-squadron attacks. So assuming I do a double flak, right? It sounds like this is saying I can do this on any of my attacks. Maybe, from a certain if the cynic in me is like, wait, so I'm going to do a flak and I'm going to do 2 flaks, and on the second flak, after I do my 5 squadrons, on the 5th squadron attack, and I'm going to, you know what I'm saying? Like like there's a little part of me that's
it's super confusing.
I don't think that's the intent, by the way.
But you can't do that. Even with the FAQ, looking kind of like that's what it's saying. It didn't change the wording on the card. It's trying to say that if you have an additional attack granted by something else, it's trying to say that yes, you can link turbo laser towers off of ordnance pods or off of impetuous.
Right. So when it's saying any of its anti-squadron attacks, it's not meaning the additional anti-squadron attacks from your attack. It's just saying if you are making an attack, it can be from any of your anti-squadron attack, but only the first squadron from that attack. Because remember, each ship gets 2 attacks, so it's clarifying that.
So
if you're getting a bonus attack that's not part of your regular attacks, like ordnance pods or impetuous, those are still eligible to be linked turbo laser towers if that's the first squadron that you're attacking and you don't do any more squadrons afterwards during that attack.
Okay. So I get that, but here's a question that's jumping into my mind while we're doing this. The fact that it says during any can definitely mean during a bonus one. And I get that. That much is clear to me. But that makes me think, is the intent, and maybe you guys don't know this one either, when attacking the first squadron during your activation. So the fact that it says during any of the attacks, could I do, this is probably a yes or no question, could I do a regular flak with not adding 2, and then do a second flak out the front, the first one of that add 2?
Yes. So what you... hold on. So you're adding 2 twice?
Yes.
On the first flak and the second flak?
No.
All right. So
I'll dive in now.
No.
So if you choose to flak out your front and you attack every single squadron out your front, if you do have the ability to attack again, obviously you can't target anything that's already there. So to back up, when you make your first attack, you could target the first squadron of that attack in LTT. And if you have gunnery teams, you could use your second attack to then designate a new attack against all other squadrons out in that front arc, let's just say, but not target the same squadron you already LTT. Because again, gunnery team restriction or some other potential restriction. But essentially, you can only ever LTT once, period. You can't use it on multiple attacks. And again, you can't. Did you have a?
Yeah, no. All right, that's good clarification, because there was a part of me that was thinking it was saying the first squadron during that attack. I thought like the blue almost seems like it's trying to say that. So I was thinking, could I LTT one guy on my left, just roll 2 extra, and then stop, do another one, LTT one guy on my front, 2 extra.
No, you can only ever LTT once, period, end of story. Again, what this card is trying to clarify is that when you make your attacks, like for example, we have a ship equipped with gunnery teams and LTTs, and let's say it also has ordnance pods. It's a Star Destroyer, Kuat version. We'll say that. So out the front, it shoots 2 ships, pow, pow. And so it uses its 2 attacks for that, and then it gets to ordnance pods, and then it does that, and it uses all of that one attack to then LTT. So this is just saying your very first attack that ship makes does not have to be against a squadron with LTT.
Okay.
That's what it's trying to clear up.
I think it fails to do that. And the line that is throwing me through most of it is the very first sentence. The ship with this card equipped can resolve this effect during any of its anti-squadron attacks. And that is the part that's throwing me through the loop, because this implies you're making multiple. The implication that I read is when making multiple anti-squadron attacks, because that's the only time you would have attacks plural, you can use it during any of them. And I feel like that's just straight up incorrect. The implication.
It's not an errata. It's not an errata. It's not an errata. Oh God, it's not an errata. Oh no.
Yeah.
Right.
It's blue text.
It stems from RNG. When you make an attack, you either attacking with your ship battery armament or you're attacking with your anti-squadron battery armament. And so you are making a attack using one of those two battery armaments. When it's saying any of its anti-squadron attacks, it's saying when you choose the flak for this attack.
Right.
That's what it means. It's not meaning when you're attacking each specific individual squadron.
I feel like it would work better if they just got rid of that first line, and just start off can only resolve this once during its activation, and then if it's using its bonus attack like ordnance pods, it can do that, but still has to follow it.
They can reword that to be not what it currently says.
Sure. All right. So at the end of the day, it does write what's on the card. You're always going to get the red reroll, right? You're not at no point are we losing the ability to reroll a red die when making an attack. And if we ever want to roll 2 extra dice, it has to be the very first squadron attacked during our activation, whether it's from our first attack or from our second attack or even third, but it has to be the very first squadron we roll dice on.
That's correct.
And that's, I think, all we really need to know, right?
That's what the card already says. So
I know.
Clarification just makes things confusing.
I didn't have any. How frequent was this question asked? Because I've never asked it. Yeah. So that's my guess is somebody said, but can you do this during ordnance pods? And I think they were trying to answer that, and that threw me
kind
upside
of spiraled
down.
out of them. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so from my original example, the way I've always played it, it sounds to me that you still play it the same way.
Yes.
Okay. This
is a clarification, not an errata.
I disagree. It's not a clarification. It's clear as mud, sir. Yes. All right. Well, goodness, I think that's most of the big stuff. I think a lot of other stuff is things that are different takes on the same thing. And it's good to see that they put some lightsaber nunchucks in there too somewhere. I don't remember which page, but
you just got to keep scrolling.
Yeah, just got to keep scrolling.
Keep scrolling.
Just
it's
keep
at
scrolling.
The bottom somewhere.
Yeah. All right. Well, shoot. That was good. Was there? So I touched on a lot of the things that I think pulled my attention. Is there anything that maybe I missed that you guys think we should talk about, or
There is one thing that was blatantly missed, and
goodness.
It was missed by you, and it was missed by FFG. And that is the permission to print or photocopy that's supposed to be on page 24 as in the summary of changes. That is nowhere to be found.
So if you bring this to
it is
Kinko's,
at the very bottom. It's very tiny.
Oh yeah, no. I'm gonna zoom in. Let's see. It is. It's really tiny. Permission granted to print or photocopy for personal use. I am looking.
Oh, they forgot to put that in blue. Dang it!
It's not in blue. Yeah.
It's not in blue.
It might
Shameful.
not have. It might not have shown up as good. Yeah, that would be funny. Oh my goodness. This is this. I love to get RRGs. We haven't gotten one in a long time. It was, what has it been, almost 2 years? Maybe longer.
The last time we got an FAQ was 2.5 years ago, pretty much. Or 2 years ago.
And that was the flotilla thing, the Riken change, all of that. And goodness gracious, so you guys know, I play Legion, right? Legion has a living rules reference guide. And so what my understanding is, and correct me if you have a different thought on this, is, and this is also for everybody else watching, wondering why we don't get these more often. To do this, they have to submit the whole thing to Lucasfilm, because anything that's got Star Wars imagery on there or any Star Wars licensed words or whatever, this is part of the game. They have this licensor agreement that everything has to get approved. And something with this many pages and this many words, somebody's reading over that, maybe 10 people are reading over that with a fine-tooth comb. No, I actually don't like the artwork on this page. Send it back. I'm paraphrasing.
It's by and large, as you mentioned, Legion has a quote-unquote living rules document. They just update it whenever they want. So when they made their agreement to make Legion, that was the contract, was that FFG was allowed to do that. because Armada is a much older game, the style back then was to make these agreements as you describe, where it has to go through a very long approval process. Like, for example, this FAQ was submitted at the start of January for the approval process. It took that long to reach us. And even then, it took them however long to do the FAQ rules-wise.
Sure.
So, yes, and when these people are going through it, they're not so much nitpicking about the rule. They don't care about rules. That's not what they're there for. It's by and large to make sure that there isn't some car text that says Luke Skywalker rode on a bantha and blew up the Death Star while going laser guns, pew pew. Like, that's the stuff they're looking for.
That's not how it went. I haven't seen episode 4 yet, so I'm not sure.
So that's why the approval process is so long, because that's what the agreement is. Just so people at home know, FFG is trying to change that agreement.
And this agreement, if you remember correctly, this agreement was made before the Disney purchase.
Yep. That's another good point. Yeah. Gosh, that's how long Armada's been out. That's probably why we got a Victory Star Destroyer, and probably
that is why we've got a Victory
Raider.
Star Destroyer. Why we have Garmbelt Iblis. Why we have
Assault Frigate
favorite. Yeah, the Assault Frigate Mark II. Why we have everyone's favorite forgotten Imperial officer, Yazane Izard.
And is she the worst card in Armada?
She's
no
bad.
She's not the worst card.
Who's worse than Izzard?
Don't say tag. Don't you dare.
Tag is not worse.
Special K is pretty bad.
Constantine is pretty bad.
He needs a complete revamp.
He needs some help.
Yeah.
That being said, what's that card? Offensive retrofit that lets you re-roll critical results
point
for
defense
anti-squadron fire.
You guys talked
point
about
defense
that.
reroute.
It's not
that
bad. There's a use for it.
That card is hot garbage and more expensive than Yazane Izard. At least Yazane Izard's cheap.
She's an officer, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I guess she's still Vader fuel, I guess.
Sure.
Technically, yes. You can get the perverse pleasure of chucking Izard out of an airlock if you really enjoyed the Rogue Squadron books.
Maybe. All right. Well, I think that's about it. Dude, thank you guys both for coming, hanging out, and this has been fantastic. This has been a really.
Thanks for having me.
No, absolutely.
It's been fun.
Tell Schmitty, I'm sorry he couldn't make it, and Truthiness too.
Blast.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right. So again, check out, if you guys are into podcasts, check out the Unnamed Armada podcast, or the Unnamed Steel, or since it's unnamed, you can call it
Steel Strategies Unnamed Armada podcast, featuring Schmitty and not Schmitty, Biggs.
Or that what he said. I don't think I can get that out without screwing it up. And definitely check out Star Wars Armada Explained. I will put links into the description below. You can definitely check those out. And if you're not listening to podcasts, you should. If you're not learning all you can from the wisdom of, if this wasn't enough to convince you on Karneck and Biggs' wisdom, then watch it again and then be convinced. All right, guys, thank you so much. I want to thank all of you guys for hanging out with me. Also, big thanks to patrons on Patreon. You guys are amazing. Definitely help make this all possible. So with that said, we're signing out. You guys have a great evening. And as always,
good night.
Have a great day.